two problems today of life divine. One is the whether world is real or not. There is one problem, though it doesn't affect many people, and people laugh at the problem, question itself that the world is real or not, or whether it really exists, and there are people who question this thing. Well, it's perhaps philosophers' work to do that. But seriously, when the question is put, perhaps one finds that there is reason to give some thought to this problem, whether the world is real as we feel it. Is it an illusion or is it a hallucination? Is it a non-existence that makes itself felt to us as existence, or that whether its nature is quite different from what we perceive it to be? Now, this problem has been taken up by him in 3 chapters, and cosmic illusion, and the one is cosmic illusion, I think, and the other is what is the 6th chapter? How does he call it? Reality and cosmic illusion. That is 6th chapter, and then comes origin of ignorance. I skip over 4 or 5 chapters in between to go to the origin of ignorance in the supreme consciousness. Ignorance is there so far as man is concerned. What we want to tackle, if we finish this problem of illusion today, would be how does ignorance happen to be present in an omnipresent reality which is all consciousness, all bliss, all delight, and all knowledge. How does it happen to be, and how does it feel there? That is to say, we have not the excuse, as he says, of people who believe in a duality at the bottom of the cosmic creation, a principle of positive divinity and a principle of something that imposes itself on the divinity against its will, or in spite of it, or unknowingly, indescribably, somehow or other, a principle which is not divine or undivine happens to associate itself with the divine, and the world is a product of that. That is one line of thought. So we have to see that given his outlook on life, that the whole cosmos is an expression of an infinite existence, consciousness, and bliss. There is no other explanation now for us available of a dualistic outlook. We cannot say some other thing could have come and become ignorance. Therefore, it is within this infinite existence, consciousness, and bliss that ignorance exists. How does it exist in an omnipresent reality? This is the problem. And this origin of ignorance, therefore, of course, so far as ignorance is concerned here, there are types of ignorance. One is when you have a knowledge of a thing which is not right, we call it ignorance. When we have, when we know a unreal thing and believe it to be real, also we call it ignorance. When we know something to be, a non-existent felt as existence, can be also ignorance. So ignorance is of 3 types: false knowledge, illusory knowledge, and non-existence felt as knowledge. You see, so that would be a kind of. Now, what is this ignorance that could take place in an omnipresent reality, and how does it happen to be there? That is the problem. Because ignorance, according to some schools of philosophy, is something which is fundamental to this cosmos. They say that ignorance is an indispensable element of any creation, any cosmos. Ignorance and world or cosmos are not distinguishable, can't separate the two, indivisible. And it will be a constant element. Some schools of thought and religion have made it almost, an eternal element of any creation. That this world is bound to be eternally imperfect because it is so intended, even if you grant an omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent God, they would say that still he has purposely created imperfect so that man may be tested. That's how it is put, you see. Or vanity of vanity, all is vanity and vexation of the spirit, and so on. In Vedanta, it comes to the same position, very similar. By reducing the world to a creation of a power that imposes itself on the infinite, well, the Vedanta also reduces the world to either an unreality or a partial reality of a secondary order, as they would say in Indian language. You see, it's not a reality. The primary order is the one absolute, indivisible, actionless, one that cannot be described, and another is, the world created by imposition of illusion upon this one absolute infinite reality, which creates this world. Practically it is granting of the two, as Sri Aurobindo said, admission of duality by the back door. He used to say in talk sometimes that this is introducing duality by the back door to say that all is one, Brahman, but somehow or other a power called Maya has come, an illusory capacity or energy, and imposed itself upon the Brahman. So really speaking, it is not monism. Sri Aurobindo's is really the monism in the sense that he admits only one element from the beginning. You realize now when we began this talk on life divine that it is monism in the strictest sense of the term that he grants one omnipresent reality as the cause of the cosmos. Now today we take up this problem of cosmic illusion. How does one get this sense of illusion first? He analyzes this very in detail, long lines, long pages. He says this sense of illusion comes to men by his experience of life. It comes to when mind takes up a problem and mind finds that it's dealing with this problem, well, it's dealing with uncertainty. It's not that it can positively come to a conclusion, say, I know this. Uncertainty of all mental knowledge, that is one. And mind finds that whatever it acquires, whatever it concludes is relative. There is a Jain school of thought which is called Syadvad. Syadvad means may be or may not be, can be, cannot be. Well, you say that, is it here? Yes, this thing is here. But somewhere also it is not. It is here, you say. Yes, it is here. But somewhere it is not. Somewhere else it is not. So non-existence of this and existence are coexistent at the same time. Mind has, according to Jain and according to Sri Aurobindo's position here when he takes up, that mind can take up anything and say, yes, every relative position is justifiable. If you say, as we were talking the other day, that if you decide to go to the cinema, there will be sufficient reason to show that going to the cinema is good. If you something decides not to go to the cinema, well, not going will have sufficient reason. So all positions of the mind are equally tenable, rational, and supported by sufficient reasoning, and that gives a sense of uncertainty to an intellectual man. This is a great tragic thing, but it is true. This was borne out to me by Professor S.K. Maitra, late who died in December when I was in Benares, you see, giving these lectures to the university. He taught number of students on philosophy for years and years, and they became doctors, PhDs themselves. And he used to meet them again in university committees, you see, examination boards and so on. And he used to ask them, how are you feeling now? And they used to say, sir, well, there is a question of final reality in philosophy. If a clever man comes and finds something, well, he puts it convincingly in terms of mind and reason, and we say, yes, he's right. Somebody else comes and something else he puts, and he gives his rationale, and we say, that's also right. So where is the question of deciding anything about reality in the realm of philosophy? And he used to say, I used to feel very sorry that after all they are becoming agnostics. Look at that. Studying philosophy is to know wisdom, to find out some truth. Instead of that, they are becoming agnostics in the sense that they do, what can you know? You can't know. Anybody is a clever man, strong mind, can come and put his reason for what he believes and gives you his own reason, and you have to accept, yes, you say, yes, he's right as far as he goes. Somebody else also is right as far as he goes. This uncertainty of all mental knowledge and relativity of positions which mind can take is one reason. That is mental reason. And when it comes to life, you see, physical mind generally begins. And that is why this question doesn't appeal to many people whether the world exists or not, because they live in the physical mind. And to the physical mind, that which is available to the sense is real. You see, whatever is sensible or available to the sensory is real. So to it looks ridiculous that a man seriously puts a question whether the world is real or not. Because all the time he's feeling the world is more than real, more concrete. It's like they will say, it is like a stone. And it was, I think, who was it? Johnson and some philosopher. They had an argument and said that, you see, the world is real because he stamped his hand on the table and said like this. See, that doesn't make it real at all. Well, physical mind and physical science now, which is extension of the physical consciousness of man, really speaking. All science is really speaking extension of the physical consciousness of man by applications and so on, instruments. So all that knowledge, well, confirms the physical reality as if that was the only reality. And vital mind full of desire comes in to work upon this. And it is never satisfied with the actual. The vital mind of man is not satisfied with the actual. It always projects itself into the potential, possible, or it is dissatisfied with its craving and creates the world of possibilities and tries to turn the possibilities into actuality. Physical mind, vital being, and the pure mind, at a certain stage when they develop, they get into a sort of a mood where they find everything is not real at all. What after all? If you go to the scientist and ask him after 30 years and you say, yes, I have done, then do you know what is matter? Well, I have tried and I know something about what happens to an atom or an electron or a ray of light when it passes through a diamond or some stone or that I know. There are 26 small infinitesimal particles today and they behave in a particular way and I have a mental picture of it. But what it is, if you ask me, well, I really can't say. Honestly, if I'm a real scientist, I shouldn't say because it's not known. This is true. I'm giving you the latest picture of science. You see, they would say we don't know what we are dealing with. We are dealing with energy, we say. We are dealing with matter. But what is matter? What is energy? What represents itself as this energy is unknown to us. And even its ultimate constitution is not known. And in Life Divine, you remember we had a chapter where he showed that however analytically the process of breaking up the material consciousness, material element will go, it will never come to zero. By its very constitution, it cannot come to zero. There will always be something. You will have an infinitesimal divided again into something. Again, there will be, you will never end into a zero because it is infinite. This pointed out in Life Divine, if you remember. Now, at a certain stage, they come and they feel vital being goes on being dissatisfied with what it gets and trying to actualize the potential and increase the realm of division, satisfaction of desire. After 20 years or 25 years, it palls on it and says, what after all? You see, the enjoyment doesn't lead to anything. So the physical mind, the vital mind, and the pure intellect, which always is relative in its positions, are at a certain stage, well, inflicted with a sense of their uncertainty and also sort of, inanimity. You see, inanity. It is as it were, it amounts to nothing. A sense of frustration, so to say. You reject everything, and because it is, if one looks at oneself, it is constant travail, hard work, unrest. Go on working, and for what? We attain nothing at the end. That's how the three instruments that work on this problem will create a sense of, unreality of the world, or as you say, illusion. All this, oh, what is it going to lead to after all? That's how it ends, you see. One feels that all is unreal or illusory. Whatever one has done, apparent existence only is there, and this deludes us with a sense of something positive, something negative, and one wants to be free from what people in India call the chain of karma. After all, action, series of action in which you are bound. But what is the use? I want to get out of it, issue out of it. See, that comes out of this experience of physical mind, vital mind, and pure mind, you see. After a sufficiently long experience, not immediately. Immediately, if you tell a young man, he will laugh at you and say, you don't know what you are, old foggy, they will say. They don't know that. You see, he doesn't know the gist of life and enjoyment and so on. Let him wait 25 years. Then you find, now, What happened? Oh, you see, it is. So you see, that's life. Then you turn around and tell you that's life. You know what it is. You see. Now here, it is it this chain of karma. You see, ineffectual daily round of physical life with its dullest, compulsions of the body is something that is galling on the sense of anybody who has an inherent sense of, the that he is more than the body. It passes, it jars on him and say, oh, the vain repetition of the same, and so on. That is what T.S. Eliot said, is it not? What is it, doctor? Uh, life and what is food and drink and dung and death. Yeah, that's it. You see, that's it. That is the ineffectual round. Now, and if you say that no, this is all illusion, we want to escape from the will of rebirth, as the Buddhists say. You see, the will of rebirth, we want to escape. Then all this is Maya. Now, this vital disappointment and frustration may not be valid reason to believe the whole world to be an illusion. Sharma argues that this may not be the valid reason. But this explains the psychology of why people may and can and do very often arrive at this sense of illusory nature of life and world and existence here. All human efforts in that condition look to be illusive. All political and social gospels, all power, all ideals of services, all ethics, in fact, all achievement seems to be end in a zero and in nothing. This in Savitri is put most beautifully in the canto where Ashwapati talks to the Supreme Mother and says, all that we have to do is to do it over and over again and so on. Oh, it is wonderful passage. Very fine and poetic passage. The same feeling that is here philosophically put is there in a poetic form, you see. What is it? Oh, he has nothing he has learned from history and from life. He is describing man, you see, and so on. It is an ineffectual round, you see. The what is it? The generations, constantly repeat the same rounds and rounds, and there is no go, no escape out of it. All human efforts seem to be elusive and all ending in a zero or in a no perfect man is created, no perfect society has come into existence, humanity. Only a momentary relief if somebody like Buddha or Christ or Krishna or Sri Aurobindo comes, then it's a drop on the burning ocean of life, so to say. You see, it is a drop that is thrown and it after some time it evaporates. That's the view you can take, which can reduce the world to an illusion, which can reduce the world to an unreality, in the sense that finally there is nothing to be achieved. And you say that there are laws in this life. Men like, I think it is Meredith and so on, who swear by the apotheosis of reason. They always tell that there are laws. It's only a question, are there fixed laws or working equations? There are no fixed laws, probably there are working equations. An equation that works now, but probably is not true, or, always it has got to change. And it may be what you call law is only nothing else but a repetition in a circle. Because suffering continues, ignorance continues, imperfection continues, and they seem to be the dominant elements of life. So what's the meaning of the operation of this law? After all, it has seems to have done nothing positively to relieve man out of the impasse in which he finds. And if you look at the beginning of the cosmos, he says that it seems to start with an inconscient energy. And out of this inconscient consciousness arises. It's a contradiction which is very difficult to understand and to harmonize with our intellectual demand. And we are told that you will get, imperfect perfection or whatever you want, you will get to some other world. That is some religions promise, and some people always tell us that perfection, you will get the reward of perfection in some other world. Then the question will arise as to why this immortal spirit who is going to live after death, according to your report, why was it compelled to make this choice to get into a world which was going to remain imperfect? What made it take this choice? Isn't it? That's also a problem. That if you say that you will be rewarded, but why was he put in here to go through this mill in which you know, according to divine knowledge, that there is no escape? Well, what made it choose this? So that an immortal spirit, was it compelled or did it choose? That's one. And was it to what made it undertake, as he puts here in the fine language, what it made it undertake the adventure to learn the nature of the world of ignorance? Why, it could have avoided the knowledge. And supposing that is so, and if the world is really not at all founded on a reality, why does it endure? Why does it continue to exist? What supports it? Even when you get out of the maya or ignorance or chain of karma, as you say, or get out of this formula of ignorance, the world continues. One man gets into samadhi or gets into a higher state where ignorance is not there, imperfection is not there, nothing is there, and he gets into that mood. But the world goes on. There, for him, perhaps there is no suffering and ignorance. In his consciousness, they cease to exist, but they continue here. So, even escape of somebody is not a solution in that sense. Why does it endure, he asks. It can have some meaning if this has a purpose. All this can have a meaning if we can find that it has a purpose. Or if all this is a manifestation of a reality. You can say that it begins with ignorance, it will going up to knowledge, and you can put it like that to yourself, like this. You see, the equation can be put roughly like that. That you have got frustration, all right. Then you say, from frustration, you go up to a condition in which you find imperfection, that makes you realize the imperfection. Now, that makes you go to knowledge. You say, seek knowledge. Knowledge. And so, imperfection to perfection, you see, imperfection to perfection you are trying to. If you say that there is a perfection or there is an aim or a purpose, then there may be some meaning. Then frustration would have some meaning because ignorance would end in knowledge, imperfection would end in some kind of perfection, frustration in fulfillment, as he puts it in Life Divine. That frustration would end one day into fulfillment. And then suffering or a stage through which you pass would be a natural circumstance of growth from inconscience or frustration or imperfection to a growing degree of perfection till one ends in fulfillment. Then one understands that this is a passage, a temporary stage necessitated by the beginning of inconscience which passes through ignorance, imperfection, and then ultimately has to end in knowledge and fulfillment. Then as an intermediate stage, it is understandable. There are people who actually believe, philosophers and founders of religion, who actually say that this is not possible because it is a fundamental element of the cosmos. That Sri Aurobindo does not grant. Suffering and imperfection and ignorance are the eternal characteristics of the world. Sri Aurobindo believes that they are there because they are temporary necessities. You see, he would put it like that. If you begin with inconscience here, inconscience below matter even, and you go up to the vital being here and mental being here, and you are going up to a possible perfection, then he would say that ignorance is a belt that is imposed here. It is something that consists here in between. It is not that it is here or there. Because if you go down in matter, you don't find there is ignorance, there is inconscience. In the animal, but there is no active ignorance, sense that I do not know or I am imperfect. That is only in the human consciousness. It is only the human consciousness that you get a dynamic or active sense of ignorance. You get below human consciousness inconscience. You call it instinct, which is operation of a automatic knowledge, which is working to fulfill some purposes in the animal life. But there is no active sense of ignorance in the lower creation. So ignorance is only a condition imposed in a, you see, this is the result of ignorance, and man has to pass through it. When it is just to make him compel to move from here to a further stage of perfection, that probably this pressure of ignorance is necessary. In fact, ignorance might be a blessing in the sense that it is this sense of imperfection, ignorance, or once being somebody who is not what he ought to be, that presses from the mental consciousness. If you put the matter here, which is the three levels of its matter, life, and mind. Now, during this, in the human consciousness, in the physical, vital, and mental consciousness, there is this pressure of ignorance which drives man to seek a greater perfection. If that was not there, probably we would be satisfied like the animals or like the trees. We would be standing still and say it is very fine, and we wouldn't feel that there is any need to do anything more than what has been given to us. Man is given this. This is not a permanent characteristic of the universe. It is wrong to admit a temporary stage as if it was an eternal law. And this is a great difficulty created by some of the greatest lights that have come to the world. It is not that they didn't give any help, but they perpetuated this idea that this world will always remain what it is. And therefore, the best thing, you escape, you manage your escape. In our country, there is a small, funny story about this. You see, there was all people were in a, what you call Choltri, means a public place where everybody goes. What do you call it here? Wherever.
Where?
Yeah, everybody is allowed to come and stay there, public place. You see, it's a guest house for everybody who's passing on the road. And they have mud pots in India, Something like a hotel, not they have to pay nothing there. That's one advantage of our hotel.
Hostel, I guess.
Yes, everybody can come. In a village, there is a place where anybody can come and simply put his bed and cook his food and do what he likes, and nobody can ask him a pie. That's there. That is there. Huh?
We don't have it.
Yes, that's our economy-centric outlook. Then people didn't think of it. Well, probably now after 20 years it may become that in India. I don't know. I would not like the prospect. But they have mud pots, and everybody comes and puts his pot. So 25, 30, 50 pots. Now one fellow came and found all pots. So he didn't know which was his. So he said, look, everybody take his mud pot away because I'm going to break mine. He took a stick. See, he took a stick and said, I was going to break mine. So please everybody take up your pots. Well, everybody took up. Then he found that was easy. He took it up. It didn't break. Now, that is how this problem of ignorance has been. You see, that it is like that. Let each one escape. And the solution is not there. Escape would not solve. Escape would only be an escape. If you say that you somehow get out of this, you can perhaps, but wouldn't solve. The whole, it is, the pot is boiling, and if one grain jumps out of it, the pot will not stop. It will go. It is boiling. Now, there is another reason which also promotes this sense of illusory nature of the world. Some philosophers have posited that one, indivisible and absolute, is the reality. All else is not real. Infinite, one, indivisible, eternal, unchangeable, actionless, or indefinable, not related to anything that you know. Well, that is its nature, and therefore that is the reality. The rest is not real. That is another way of promoting an idea of illusory nature of the world. Then you ask them, but how is it that we feel the world? So he says, yes, the transcendent and one, he is supracosmic and he is only real. And you say that, but there is a God. Yes, God is the brighter side of that unreality. It is all unreal, except the one infinite, transcendent, eternal. All else is not real. But you see, we have a conception of a God. How do you explain the world? So he says, no, world is created by God. Then God, yes, but God is the brighter side of this illusion. That's all. There is no real necessity of a divine being. And if you grant that it is real, Shankar would say that it is a reality of a secondary order. It's not reality of primary order. First reality is infinite, unrelated, absolute Brahman. You see, that is real. Omniscient, omnipotent, and all that is derivative from it. And that is because there is world to be created. Therefore, in the Maya, the reflection of this infinite becomes God to you. But really speaking, it is not reality of the first order. Reality of the first order is the absolute. The world at the most is either illusory or a reality of the second order. And therefore, he would give this illustration of this world as an illusion or a dream. Now, he therefore examines this analogy of dream and in detail in Life Divine. I won't go into the whole of it, but he says that if you take this argument that when you see a dream, the dream appears to you real. But when you wake up, the dream becomes unreal to you. This is given as an argument that so long as you are in ignorance, you feel the world real. As soon as you wake into your true self, the world becomes unreal. This is the line of argument given by people who want to bring to us the illusory nature of the world on the basis of one omnipresent, one infinite reality as the only absolute truth, and all else, well, not only unreal but illusory, like a dream. He says that dream and hallucination, these two, he examines in detail and points out that this is a wrong line of argument which has been given to us. Because dream is not really unreal. Each thing is real in its own plane of consciousness, own state of being. Our state in dream has its own reality. Our state in waking has its own reality. When you come to the waking, the dream world has not reduced itself to unreality or has not become non-existent. In fact, the dream can influence your waking condition. It is intimately related to waking life very often, if not every time. So to say that the dream is something absolutely non-existent or unreal, and that because dream is not seen here in the actual life, like that world also has no real existence, is not correct logic. He says that as you see in a dream, well, you come to waking condition, the dream is there where you left it. Your vital being or your, the lower vital or higher vital or mental being, it is there. And when you go back to sleep, you will get it again. You can have a chain dream, day-to-day continuation. He also refers to the study of dream life now done by psychologists, and which shows that you can interpret dreams to suggest what it indicates in the waking consciousness of man, ultimately in the total consciousness of man. After all, dream is a part of man's consciousness. It is not really not reduced to unreality because you don't feel it as real or as vivid when you are in the waking condition or when you are subjected to the limitation of sense. Distinction of the world as illusion, but not a dream illusion. Even if you grant that world is an illusion, it would not be right to say that it is illusory like a dream, because that wouldn't apply at all, because the dream exists in its own right. For instance, when a soul passes into nirvana, or a silent consciousness of the infinite, where the world doesn't exist, but the world here is all right. In the consciousness where you rise into the silence, you don't find a world or world consciousness, but the world is there. Simultaneously coexistence with your, non-experience of the world in your silent state or in your passivity. But therefore it has not become unreal. And argument given is the dream is without any antecedent and whether any sequel. You see, it is something like that, like jumps up like any, bolt from the blue, like something that just comes out without any antecedent conditions or justification and so on. And it lacks coherence. Say that very often even waking life is also lacking in coherence. Enough times we don't notice it, that's all, you're not conscious. But waking life also, many things jump up without any antecedent, no? You study the behavior of people and yourself, and perhaps sometimes you discover that waking condition is not less illogical, more illogical than the dream state. It is same incoherence obtains in waking life. Evanescent and without significance, and it passes away. But the same characteristic apply to waking condition. Waking condition, things pass away and they are evanescent and nothing permanent. And that argument that because it is without sequel or without an antecedent and coherence would not apply to dream, to reduce it to unreality or illusory nature, because the same can apply to waking condition. And secondly, he was a long argument to show that dreams really are not unreal. Real, they are effects and they have effects. They are effects of something that has been experienced in life, either subtle or physical, and they have effect on our psychology, either waking or inner psychology. So that dreams cannot be reduced to unreality because they are transcript of images of real in our inner consciousness. And our inner consciousness is actually awake in our sleep. New psychology has established a system of reading the meaning of dreams in the subconscious, you see, to build it up and try to read the significance of it. And dreams do affect the waking condition. And it is not only the vital and the frustrated desires and impulses or fantastic images of waking that take place in dream, but it is very often the subliminal that is the dream builder, he says. It is a subliminal consciousness that builds the dream. Dream is built by not merely bits of fantasy or bits of impulse or bits of something in the imagination. No, it is subliminal that builds the dream, and subliminal is a real architect. It builds something very real. That dream can influence your life or somebody else's life. So that to say that dream is unreal would not be correct. Dreams do become significant, and one can become conscious of his dreams in sleep if one trains himself. He also put that possibility before oneself, that you can put yourself into waking condition in dream so that you can follow. In fact, there are cases in which day after day the dream is followed. Today's dream is left at one stage. When he goes to sleep again, he continues the dream from there, and it's like a chain, you see. The case is reported like that. Mother reported on, so she brought that to our notice in Unito. So, sleep, really speaking, opens the gate to the subliminal, and that is what gives us entrance to the dream world, really speaking. And this is a reality and not an illusion. Therefore, the argument that dream is unreal and the world is dream wouldn't apply. The second argument that is given is that it is of the nature of hallucination. The world is a hallucination. Hallucination in the sense that Brahman is pure and indeterminable. You cannot predict its line of formulation or determination. It is free, and in its free self-determination there is no compulsion to form, and the form is not determinable. So if it is indeterminable, then whatever is determined is transient, passing. It has got to go, because you cannot determine to a permanent universe in which laws obtain and things go to a purpose and significance. It is indeterminable. It says no, anything can happen in the absolute and the infinite. This idea, he says, the world, really speaking, is a mental ideation of the Supreme, so to say. if the divine or the omnipresent reality or the absolute has a real idea, well, that is what we see as the world. And what we see is like, as the Vedantins put it, the perception of the snake in the rope. You see, the rope is there and you perceive the snake there, but really the snake is not there. The determination is felt, but what is determined is not the real. That which is real is the serpent, you see. We see the world real, that's like the rope. And we mistake it as if it is real. It is not. The real is the serpent. So, you see, you mistake the rope for the serpent. In darkness, sometimes you do. You see, it is lying like that and so on. Well, this is the argument given by Vedantins to prove the unreality and illusory nature of the universe. Now, he's saying that, yes, all right, he says, mirage, if you say, or imposition of an image, but mirage exists somewhere. Mirage is not imposition of an image non-existent. No, imposition of image which exists somewhere. You see a city, you see a lake. When you are in the desert, you see trees or landscape or water, you know. Have you seen it? I have seen it like that once or twice, you see. You see, and it is receding, and you say, oh, it's not coming, it never comes. You see. But there are landscapes and trees and water somewhere. Even when you see the serpent in the rope, the serpent is somewhere. Otherwise, you wouldn't have imposed the serpent upon the rope. So that it is not really absolutely a hallucination in the sense of something non-existent got up into existence. That is not the nature of the world. It is not like a vision in void air, as he puts it in Life Divine, you see. It would be correct analogy if it was a vision in absolute void. Well, the mistake is a misrepresentation or misplacement, an impossible combination, you can say. That can give you a false sense of reality, but otherwise, there is no reason to believe that this analogy is applicable to the world as illusory. The last argument which they put is that our mind itself is an instrument which can know things. And this mind itself is a projection of original ignorance. Mind itself proceeds out of original ignorance. It is with mind that we can know. Our only instrument available is mind. And according to some philosophers, this mind itself is nothing else but a projection of something which is ignorance. Unreal, you know. And original illusion has projected mind into existence. And then we don't know whether this mind, because it is a child of original illusion, is inflicted with its ignorance, or whether mind itself is creating force and consciousness and all this world around us, whether mind is really creative of the universe. There was, I think, Berkeley, in English philosophy, yes, he pleaded for this complete subjectivity for reality. Means he believed that all reality means subjectivism. There is no world outside subjectivity. That is what Herbert Reed's poem said yesterday, you know. Yes. Our world is invisible. The world is invisible till our senses cast, reflection, and then the world is limited, cast into the mold of a limited instrument, isn't it? Yes. Yes, until our sense projects itself upon it. Therefore, he says the light burns the world in the vision of the eye. When you see the vision of the world, then the world is projected and thrown into existence. And it is thrown into limited existence because the instrument receiving is limited. In the next, he is trying to show the reality and cosmic illusion, the relation between cosmic illusion and if a reality is granted as the origin of this illusion. Our world cognition means our knowledge of this world, and the nature of the original consciousness or power, if you call it, which has created the world. What is the relation between our knowledge of this world and nature of that original reality or power which has created this world? What is this that has created, who has created this imposition of this world upon that ultimate reality, if there is an imposition at all? Is this an imposition or a true formation? It is an imposition from somewhere outside on the original reality, or is it a true formation? Is it something that emanates from the reality itself? What is the nature of that ultimate reality? Not what our mind says, he says. That would not be right, to busy ourselves with what our mind says. We must try to study the nature of the ultimate reality. Because knowledge and ignorance, all is unreal outside this cosmic scheme. If you take the cosmos, then knowledge and ignorance must be known, must be placed within the scheme of the cosmos. You outside the cosmos, if you go, there is no room to think about knowledge and ignorance, both non-existent, both irrelevant, both non-applicable. So, what we call knowledge and what we call ignorance take for granted the cosmic scheme. It must exist and take place in a cosmic scheme, in a cosmos. If you say that eternal, relationless and absolute is the truth, and mind is a faculty that decides, then it can affirm or deny any side of the truth. It can assert the perceiver, the subjective being. It can assert and affirm the thing perceived. It can also assert and accept the perception. But it can reject equally. If it is given to the mind can reject. Then the question would arise whether outside this acceptance and rejection of the mind, whether there is any reality. Reality connected with the cosmos, because cosmos is a scheme in which knowledge and ignorance have any relevance. If you get out of the cosmos and don't think of the universe at all, well, there is no meaning in the word knowledge and ignorance. It takes for granted the field in which it operates, you see. And you say he takes up now one by one, you see. Is there a reality outside? And what is the relation between this reality outside and this world, which then must be accepted as an illusion? You deny the percept. Then you say matter is real. If you accept the percept, you will say matter is real. You will deny the perceiver. But it is consciousness only that matter perceives. Matter is perceived by consciousness. If you accept the percept, you will say matter is real. You will deny the perceiver. But it is consciousness only that matter perceives. Matter is perceived by consciousness. It is consciousness that constantly contains matter within itself, because outside consciousness there is matter. So when you affirm only reality of matter, you are also granting at the same time the consciousness that accepts the perception of matter. You are not outside. You simply say, you can't say mind does not exist. That is what some are very laboriously trying to argue in some of these discussions, symposiums as you call them, you see. Laboriously arguing that mind is matter. And trying to prove that, as I told you, give the instance, the stone is on the hill and the man is on the hill, and then you know what will happen to the stone. Then he says, no, but if there is a powerful magnet and if the ball is made of iron, then you cannot predict its behavior, because it may not run down if the powerful magnet holds it back. Well, the same determining factors can happen in a man's case. You need not think that he will come in this direction. He may just go opposite direction. He may go right, he may go left, because there are determining factors in his own consciousness. So that man is not free. What is coming to his mind is matter, you see. Mind is only matter. Well, Sri Aurobindo says, but it is wrong because one who take cognizance of the mind is, matter is mind. It is mind that cognizes matter. Yes. Consciousness is then mind can say that consciousness is not an enduring reality. Energy is the only reality. And all the three percipients, you see, the perceiver, the percipient, and the perception, well, all is a phenomenon of energy only, and without anybody possessing it, so to say. Who possesses it? Nobody, because there is nobody to possess. Who possesses his knowledge? Either of the percept, or the perception, or the perceiver. There is nobody. It's all energy, and energy is inert. Buddhism had to actually say that the individual doesn't exist because in their scheme they found the individual was constantly flux in the consciousness, and therefore they couldn't posit any integrating element in the flux of nature, either in the mind or suggestion or desire or impulses or subconscious impulses. They were all going all the time flux. So he said, where is any individuality, a permanent element in the subject, what you might call a subject? So there is nobody to perceive. And therefore Buddha had to bring in the law of karma to dominate this creation and its dynamic movement. He had no omnipotent being to help him out. So he said, well, it's the law of karma that operates. It is chain that is going on. Who set it in motion? He said, don't ask that question. It's very inconvenient. But it is there. Our business is to get out of it. Don't worry. And it's like breaking the pot. So each one breaks the pot, the collective life goes fat. It goes to nothing. If ignorance is the fundamental nature and birth itself is in infliction, the fulfillment only is in withdrawal, and withdrawal is individual. You see, and it takes away so much by insisting on two elements of life which are true, but not the emphasis and the excess which Gautam Buddha put upon it, pain and asceticism, you see, suffering and asceticism. Now, suffering is there, nobody denies as an element in life, but it is not the one element on which you can lay such a stress as to reduce the whole cosmos to a proposition given to you only to solve this problem. You must look wide proportion in order to understand. An emotional reaction towards such a cosmic problem would not lead us to correct solution. You must look at it wide like that. Then you see that pain and ignorance has a place. It is not meaningless. It is significant. It might be needful for a man to experience pain. And it's not uncompensated. There are delights, joy, fulfillment, love, cooperation, sympathy, 1,000 things. You can't only concentrate on pain and say that you now, therefore, renounce. Krishna Tyag. It's good. Control is good. The imperfection of man's consciousness as subject to desire has to be removed. That is true. But to say that denial, an ascetic attitude, is the fulfillment would not allow man to remain long in that attitude. For 1 generation, 2 generations, 100 years, yes, perhaps people might think, let us try. But they will immediately find out that life would not easily allow a denial to itself, you see. You can't make a man take delight in suffering. That is what it would come to ultimately, you see. How can you make him take delight in suffering? It's just the opposite of delight. And deny him all fulfillment by a withdrawal and divide society into 2 parts, watertight compartments in which one part is qualified, major part is not qualified, and the qualified part doesn't want to try afterwards much because they think they are already qualified by putting on a yellow garment or a ochre color cloth, and the major portion of mankind think that we are disqualified because we can't renounce. So the ultimate truth itself gets limited in its application, and its incidence on life, impact on life is weakened out, you see. These problems are not to be solved on the basis of emotional reactions of an individual, however high he may be. They have to be seen in cosmic proportions, and then only you can see their place and also the way to transform them. It's not a question of rejection, it's a question of transformation. And that in Life Divine we have sufficiently gone through. I don't want to go on that ground again. Now, where was it? I completely lost. Where is it?
Saying that energy is reality.
Yes, yes. Therefore, he says that not energy but consciousness. Because it is consciousness that perceives the problem, even created by energy. We seize these only by the works and call it energy. Because consciousness creates activity around itself and we know it by its functioning, therefore we know the function. But we do not know that which originates this action or activity. If we knew, then we would know that it is consciousness and not unconsciousness, even matter. So it only by its works we know it, and behind, if we go, there may be an invisible original existence, even not only consciousness, but an original existence possible. Conscious energy of existence is, really speaking, the reality. Conscious energy of existence, self-existence, infinite in its, measure, held by an infinite consciousness. So, conscious energy of existence is our picture of the reality. Mayavad only wants some aspect of Mayavad, not all, some aspects of Mayavad accept that existence is the real, but not consciousness. Ultimate reality is Sat, being, not I am. You see, I am becomes immediately consciousness. It is both knowledge and power, will and knowledge. Whereas here it's only, existence, which is not personal, which has no subjective element one, and which has no consciousness, according to Vedantins. Now he says that this is wrong because you cannot conceive of mere being without somebody who possesses the being. Being without consciousness is not possible even to experience. There must be somebody who holds the being. Being alone existing for its own sake, he says that no true becoming, they will say. When they are driven hard, they say, no, being we grant. Then we say, but how this world has come? No, that is becoming. That one being becomes. And becoming is unreal, being is real. This we have discussed already in the previous chapters of Life Divine, if you remember. So won't go over the same ground again. And he shows that there is no distinction between being and becoming. You cannot distinguish between being and becoming because it's a natural function of the being to give rise to what you perceive as becoming. And this division between being and becoming is mind, mental. When mind is a dividing faculty, analytical faculty, driving the wedge between that which is indivisible. You cannot conceive of the becoming without the being. You cannot conceive the being without giving rise to the becoming. Just as some of the people put analogy of the sun, that you cannot conceive of the sun without the light emanating out of it. You can't divide that light is not the sun. It is the sun. And you can't conceive of the sun without the power of emanating light. It will always emanate light. So that if you grant an ultimate existence or being, then consciousness is natural to it because that is the becoming of the being, you see. Becoming is spontaneous to the being. How does this illusion then come? How does it superimpose itself upon this infinite reality? Who perceives this Maya, this illusion when it is perceived? Is it the infinite reality? Is there a division in the ultimate reality? One free from perception, another perceiving the division? Eternal percipient, real, unreal percept, eternally recurring. Is that the nature of the world? The one divine being, eternally the only percipient, only subject, only I, and the rest unreal percept, constantly recurring in eternal time, you see. You can say that this is the imagination of the Brahman, and as Brahman's imagination, it is not true. But Brahman cannot have imagination which is not true. Infinite cannot have an imagination which is not arising from its truth. And in it, knowledge is all the time present in the infinite existence and consciousness. And therefore, this division between subjective and objective existence which man has got can't obtain in the Brahman because it's only existence. There is nothing outside the Brahman to feel as if, oh, this is outside me, therefore let me feel. This division of subjectivity and objectivity, perceiver and the perceived or perception, doesn't obtain in the Brahman because there is only one. And whatever happens is within the one. That brings us to the problem of ignorance ultimately. You see that if that is the only one, how does this ignorance exist and continue to exist there? That's the next chapter. When you are going over to that chapter, we will come to that. It can't be that Brahman is subject to Maya, because always he is self-aware. And there cannot be any dual consciousness in the Brahman, which our mind projects into the Brahman, because mind cannot conceive of two opposite qualities coexistent in a reality. And then if you say that it is self-aware, Brahman is self-aware, has all the time its own self-consciousness, no ignorance in it. What made it create this world then? Means create ignorance, is it not? Become ignorant now. Because there is nothing else that he creates except that which happens within his own self. So what happens is within his own self-awareness. Now in this self-awareness of the supreme existence and consciousness, how does ignorance happen to exist? Because ignorance is there. That's our experience. And that exists in the one. This exists in the one. The one existence and one consciousness, ignorance exists. Now, in this self-awareness, how does this happen? This looks like a contradiction, you see. That one who is all aware has a part on him that is not self-aware. Isn't it? We are part of that infinite reality. World is a part of it, and it is not self-aware. And he is all aware all the time. So how is that then we grant this position that all right, from all one existence, self-aware, one consciousness of that self-existence is the cause of this cosmos. Then how is it that what compelled it to create this world of ignorance? How is this ignorance related to that all awareness? Want of awareness or ignorance, unawareness, or you can say ignorance, coexisting in an all-aware infinite consciousness. That is the problem. That will lead us to the next, you see. This dynamic consciousness of the eternal is a contradiction because of the static and the real nature of the, you see. There are schools in India who have argued that the world is not at all born. Ajatavad it is called, you see. It is Gaudapada, the Guru of Shankaracharya. You see, Shankaracharya's Guru was some Acharya, and his Guru was Gaudapada Acharya, and he posited this non-existence of the world. So Sri Aurobindo says that in that case we needn't philosophize, because philosophy wouldn't exist. So it's good, it's all right. He says this question, he said in 3 times the world is not at all created, it doesn't exist. So he said it's all right. Philosophy didn't exist afterward. After that, you need philosophize. You need philosophize because it's. But a static reality and a dynamic illusion, illusory dynamism. If you say the reality is static and this illusion is dynamic, how to put the two together? Well, that is the problem which our mind. We can only answer this one point, that our mind is not creative of this consciousness. In answer to this, we can say, whoever has created the ignorance, our mind has not created the world. This we can say positively without any fear of contradiction. Because our mind itself is derivative. And it's an intermediary creator. Whatever it creates is intermediary. Inconscient, and it is like a mediator between the two, you see. Take inconscience here, then reason or mind here. superconscious here. You see, then he says this is infinite in one sense. It is infinite. This is infinite, unlimited, you see. This is limited in the sense that it connects these two. It has not much other function to it. It's an intermediary power. Its function seems to connect the inconscient with the superconscious, that's all. Mind as a faculty operating in man is only a faculty which is surrounded on both sides, one side by inconscious and other side by superconscious. He calls it in Veda, the Vedic rishis call it, yes, Guhamanu Antaha. He hides his two ends. He hides his two ends, the head and the feet, you see. No, only the middle portion is known of it, and so. And
Is that word just the bottom on the right? Is that?
yes, it is the infinite. Yes, the inconscient is infinite because it is bottomless, so to say. You see, the darkness of matter, if you go below, you don't come to anything. Practically, it comes to an infinity, which is the dark infinite, and the other is the infinity of light on the other side. The superconscious also is infinite. The infinite consciousness manifests the known, and mind has to discover the unknown. And mind, therefore, does not create. Maya must be the creation out of nothing, then, in that case. Well, because if mind had to create, mind would require a substance with which to create the world. It can't create out of mere nothing. And Maya does not require substance because to Maya, a substance would be something unreal. Substance would be something real. And Maya doesn't require substance because if it created a world out of substance, the world would be real. Now, if Maya it doesn't allow any substance to enter into its scheme of creation. So it comes to this, that there are forms which are determinations. There is a formless who is indeterminable. And then is this form determined by imagination? Maya, is it an imagination which creates these forms? Says imagination is not altogether a unreal faculty, because even in human mind, when imagination works, imagination hits upon some reality which becomes actual. Flying, you see, Jules Verne, 80 years before, predicted all that the modern science has now proved real, actual. So that imagination is a faculty that hits upon the truth before it is actualized here, so that we cannot altogether relegate imagination to the realm of an unreal faculty or faculty dealing with the unreal or non-existent. It's not always illusory because it substitutes for the faculty of intuition. And mind is not the creator of ignorance, because mind itself is ignorance trying to know. And even its illusions start from a basis of some kind. Our mind is the ignorance of this cosmic mind is the instrument of this cosmic ignorance. But it is not itself the creator or creative of this cosmic illusion. Our mind is an instrument of cosmic ignorance. But our mind is not capable of creating this illusion. Cosmic illusion is not totally creation of human mind. It is an instrument of ignorance, cosmic ignorance, and therefore it is ignorance seeking for knowledge. It is a seeker, it is a discoverer, it's a creator of truths, of possibilities and actualities. And even our mind, an imperfect faculty of knowledge, is able to become a discoverer, seeker, and a creator of partial truths. It can turn possibilities into actualities. Then we must grant that the power behind mind, whatever that be, must be in some way real. The power behind mind cannot be unreal, because even our imperfect mind, an instrument of ignorance, ignorance itself seeking for knowledge, is able to, seek, to discover, to create. And bring possibilities into actuality. Well, then the original power which is behind this cosmic instrument called our mind, or cosmic ignorance which is our mind, well, then behind it must be a real power. And that must be creator of truth and of not impossibilities but truths, realities. Original power it creates illusions and unrealities with mind as its instrument in the human being. So the differentiated universe we see is unreal, only undetermined, undifferentiated, and therefore the absolute alone is real. You can argue that way, but he says that behind this there must be a power which is real, and what it creates also must be real. Therefore, there must be a reality behind the drive of mind, behind the drive of ignorant cosmos, which has got our mind as one of its instrument working as an instrument of cosmic ignorance. Or secondly, the other possibility is that the truth consciousness is creating a true universe, but the mind in it is imperfect, and mind is imperfect consciousness. Then this ignorance, which is mind, proceeds towards the knowledge, and it can throw away, if it rises to one degree of development or some degree of development, it can throw away its limits and become capable of harboring the truth consciousness. The problem is, how is this mixture of knowledge and ignorance in our cognition of self, in our cognition of things to be explained? We have in our consciousness mixture of knowledge and ignorance. Something is real known, other things are unknown. In the knowledge of ourselves, knowledge of our things, this mixture exists. How does that square with this all-aware, omnipresent reality? If we are within that reality, the reality is aware of this ignorance in us, ignorance in the cosmos. An all-aware, omnipresent reality has in it now, the problem boils down to this, an all-aware, omnipresent reality has in it now a double consciousness, partly ignorant, partly having limited knowledge. How is this possible in an all-aware, omnipresent reality? That we take up tomorrow.
To be continued. Sat Chitananda, that really means the being aware of the consciousness is bliss.
Yes, this self-aware, all. These three we put because our mind is perceiving it. You see, really speaking, we shouldn't speak of it as three, but he says there is no other way of expressing it, so we put it triple like that. But really it is one, indivisible, in which our mind puts existence and consciousness and bliss. It is absolute indivisible unity.
Being self-aware, in other words,
Yes,
is bliss.
yes. Self-aware, conscious and blissful, all at the same time.
You can only speak one at a time, but you can think of.
Yes, and that's it.
That's what you want to talk about that in this latest issue about thinking radially or globally.
Yes,
where
that
we can
is.
only speak in a single plane.
Yes, in the overmind, you don't see the things separate.
No.
You know them like one patch, the whole patch, whole ground. And when you want to put it in mind, you have to describe it. You see, the whole is known there.
Well, this the one becomes aware of this in it's what we call spiritual experience.
No, man becomes aware of it in spiritual experience. Yes. It is aware of itself even now,
Yeah,
in everything.
yeah.
That is what, when we come to the problem of ignorance, you will see how it is, how we are in a world where, the Satchidan is not Unitarian unity. It's a tremendous view of the world, even intellectually, that he gives. That it's not one existence like that. It is so infinitely, multiply, eternal and infinite that a blade of grass can give you a vision which is staggering. Because everywhere it is the total presence that is working. And total presence of the Satchidananda, putting only an aspect of itself and keeping back the whole of its infinity behind. Behind the whole, if the whole is not there, even the blade of grass would not be there. Now, how rich is the world in that sense, if you see, it is, it is too full of consciousness, you would say. It's not only one that is somewhere, Unitarian, infinite, absolute, like a silent lake, static, and as a one substratum of being at rest and doing nothing. It is everywhere present in its fullness and creating a multiplicity of variation of forms and manifestation in a continual miracle. You see, it is in eternal time again. It doesn't stop. It is staggering view.
With the mind we can.
Dr. Maitra said that even with the mind to conceive is a rewarding experience.
Yeah.
He said first that I never wanted to give up my mind till he became a disciple, you see. And he says, with the mind, when I saw, I said, this is the great magician who has created this wonderful vision to my mind. He allows me to stand my mind and doesn't say, oh, I give up your mind. No, he says, stand if you like. And then I give you a picture of the reality and look at that. And he says, how staggered that he has built up the whole universe. And he has made me say yes to every step. It's terrific. He argues with me and says, look here, now if it is like that, it must be like that only, isn't it? And I have to say yes. And then he says, if vital is like that, then the mind can evolve only in this way, isn't it? And you say, yeah. And if mind is like this, then mind must go beyond automatically, rationally, inevitably. And you say, yeah. And then you say, if it is like that, then you say, well, then everything I have to say, yes. He says, my mind can't. Because he puts reason for everything is put into terms of acceptance of mind, he says. That's first time he came to give his obeisance to Sri Aurobindo was only as an intellectual, you see. As an intellectual. He said, I was seeking for something real philosophically in my intellect. And here was somebody who satisfied my intellectual search to an extent nobody had ever done. I want to give my respect to some who satisfied it so completely after 35 years of my search.
Confuses the issue. No wonder that the mind confuses the issue, or rather we thinking of.
No, because mind is not one level. You see, mind is not working on one level. You see, when
also your mind is generally guided by your senses.
And vital being also.
The current instead of the real.
Yeah.
Mind is physical mind and the vital mind and the pure mind. And the mind which allies itself to vital being or to life or to purposes and interests and so on. So it gets mixed up. If mind could remain pure and ask only for the truth, it would have at least a representation or a construction of the truth given to it, or a reflection. Let's say a quiet mind would reflect the reality. If mind could become passive and quiet, it could reflect the reality. Even in the mental plane, it could have a reflection.
Yeah.
Or it could rise to it occasionally and come down. But if mind is active all the time with things of life and running about, it is no time and chance for knowing. So you see, what is required is sincerity and earnestness. You see, that put the problem as a priority number one. Because first time when they meet, you have to put up, that is what you have to learn, that life is like that, and that is ignorance, you see. That's what to say, yes, that's like that. Somebody saying that, you see, we must carry this message to people and city and so on. So I was thinking in my mind, somebody was telling me that I could come 7,000 miles and they cannot come 200 miles. You see, I am not eager. There's no message to be given. There is nothing. I am not impatient. Doesn't matter. But the way people argue, you see, it shows that they are not earnest, but they don't see that they are not earnest. It's very unfortunate, you see. It demonstrates immediately that they are not at all earnest. No, we must have it on our terms. How can you have everything on your terms? How can you have? I mean, you must, if something is valuable, you pay for it. Pay for it in convenience, yes, pay for it in time, in sacrifice or something. How can you have it all? It is, everything will be all right, and also I will have God in my pocket. From the word to say that, but we don't say that's why. We don't say that. Never say. I say, yes, we'll try to see what can be done, and we try to fulfill it also as far as we can humanly. But the attitude is not right. Attitude is not right. I want to do it, all right, then I am prepared for some inconvenience, yes. All right, to take books and read. If you say I can't go, all right, take books, earnestly, every day, 2 hours, sit down. 2 hours you can't spare, then it means you're not honest. 2 hours, sit down. Why not? There is a library, take it. Then it will get into you, even without your knowing, I know. It will get into you. Because it's not a book. It is something tremendous. So, the book is only like a current passing through, that's all. It will get into you, I promise that. Earnestness and that, priority number one is lacking. That's human condition, you can't blame for conditions, they are there. It is that you take for granted and start and see what is possible, what is intended. Through that, something can happen. Also, when they were telling me about Judaic Christianity, I was on the point of telling, then I didn't say. But why should you say anything about Judaic Christianity? Why? If you believe, then say. That I understand. But if you say, we must say it for the sake of saying, but why? Oh, make them understand. No, don't be anxious to make them understand. If they have to understand, they must understand the truth. And the truth must be what you believe. If you believe in Judaic Christianity, do. Oh yes, I don't object to it. If you believe, oh, get along. But you say, no, but Judaic Christianity is good because if we say people will...
Beware.
But I told them only this much, that don't stress your ceremonials and your credo. Only stress that portion of Christianity or Judaic or whatever Christianity where there is an insistence that you have to do and you have to act. And he points out a process. Only point out that. That may be relevant. The rest of it has gone into the past, it has done its work, it has done its service, and whatever was good is there in us now. I mean, nothing is lost. Of all the past, we are the product. It's living in us now, right here. Nothing is negative. Nothing was done in vain. You see, what was done is here. Conditioned by that, and then you can't break the construction unless he himself breaks it or consents to your breaking it, you see.
Well, I think that's the hardest thing for Western mind to realize, that you can't do it yourself.
But you can't do it yourself to the sake of...
That's help.
Yes, yes. If somebody does it, it will only provoke a sort of a reaction which is not healthy for anybody. It is best is one realizes himself that this is not right. That one does it only when he is earnest, when he himself is seeking.
Now, I haven't quite followed. It seems as though Purani is saying one thing and you're saying something else.
No, same thing.
No, you're saying the same
Exactly the
thing.
same thing.
Same thing. Okay.
My breaking it, you see, anybody else's breaking wouldn't serve the purpose.
No.
It's a man himself must grow into breaking it.
Yeah.
Well,
That is right.
you see what's on his own.
Huh?
Absolutely. You said there. Can't do it himself.
Yes, that's
No.
why I said it seems as...
Well, he can't do it himself. It's the divine that does it for him. Oh, yes. But he can't. He must do it on his own.
Mm.
It's his own personal relationship. It's not what the Christians think or the Jews think or anybody else thinks. It's what he thinks. Because I think that's...
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. That you have the man himself must outgrow his limits and say, oh, this far and not further. This is all right now. And I am in the realm of the real. I am not in the realm of somebody who disbelieves or an unbeliever or an atheist. No, I am in the realm of one who goes in for the reality because it's now a process which I want to resort to, not a belief or an assertion or an affirmation or a profession.
So you mean, Purani, you're trying to call to their attention that...
I only wanted them not to...
dwell on the past. You're trying to call to their attention the fact
Mm.
that it isn't helpful to dwell on the past. That is
Certain-
traditions. and so
certainly
forth.
not.
But the
Certainly
past
not.
is in us.
Yes,
Yeah.
past is in us, it is there. And now why do you want to bring back that which has rendered a service and given you what you are? Stand, march from where you are, march from where you are. Here is a light that is giving you a further process if you want a process. If you want to believe, remain where you are, no harm. I don't object to it. Why do you believe? I never question. It's good. If you believe in Him, follow it.
You know, it
But
even-
if you say we want to do something, then I say, well, here is the start of. Why not?
You know, it even says in the Bible that if you look backwards, you turn to salt. That's so plain. Yeah.
So only don't stress ceremonies and credos. That's the world was created in 7 days, or you see things like that, or ceremonials and this. Stress only where he says you must make an effort to reach the reality. Bring out those things where only appeal is made to man to do something, not only to say and believe and to act and to have a ceremony. That is secondary part of the work. That is secondary. Primary part is that we must need to make an effort at experience.
Of course, Tommy was saying it's hard for the Western world to understand that. And I suppose perhaps these people have in mind to try to get to a level where the Western mind.
Yes, something is done. I don't say so. That's why I accept their invitation. I actually go there and address them. I don't mind addressing them.
No.
We go there and we try to see what.
Try to get them on the hook.
No, not to get them on the hook, get them on the divine hook.
That's what I mean, the divine hook. That's what I mean. He wants to be. Yeah.
You can give him argument and you can give him a sympathetic way of looking at the problem. That's all. And leave it to him to decide. Follow his own path.
Unless he decides, he won't get there anyway.
No, that's what I was
On the universal plane, you can give some truth of the cultural movement of collective life, and there put higher value than values that are obtaining now. Harrington, in his letter, pleaded so piteously and tragically that you don't know how difficult it is to get an audience. And I had actually to write to him that I care nothing for audience. I had to say something amounting to that. I mean,
the community church in New York.
Donald Harrington, you see
Donald
the
Harrington from the community church.
Community Church of England. You don't know how difficult it is to get people and so on. Well, that is what we have done because of our cultural values are such that.
Well, I think that's one reason there's an increasing feeling amongst the small numbers of people that something has to be done about what's happening in this country. And it's happening here, not because we're more foolish or
No.
but this is the ground where materialism has developed in maximum sense. And we're depending more and more on it, and we're getting less and less out of it.
Exactly.
This book that I was telling you about, that
Yes.
I read it this one by Joseph Crutch, who lives over here somewhere in Arizona. It's called Human Nature and the Human Condition. Read it. It'll work out. I'll take it out and read it. And there's another book that's written lately by Gerald Sykes called The Hidden Remnant. Now, he is saying that one must preserve one's individuality and integrity in order to be creative. And he is worried about the effects of this mass of propaganda and the revolt of the artists against it. This is one reason he says that so much of art in direct opposition to the creative instinct in most people. And in writers and painters and people like this, it results in a revolt, and it results in a lot of...
You have to become your own self. And the many ideas that all must be alike. All must be similar. Believe same thing, say same thing, act same thing, and live very takes away the zest of the individual. Well, that individual fulfillment is perhaps first requires a growth of the individuality. And the difficulty of the modern time is that it doesn't give chance to the individual to grow. That is its greatest harm that it is.
A majority. In other words, if 80% of the people think this way, you have to think this way, you're going to unclaim.
Or else you're ostracized.
Yeah. Why shouldn't you think
you're right.
Why shouldn't be allowed to think? differently, even though the other speak, I think you're foolish.